Ladies and gentlemen, I'm calling this regular meeting of the Oakville Public Library Board to order for Thursday, July 18th, 2024. Before we get started with our meeting, I'm going to read our territorial acknowledgement. The Oakville Public Library is situated on Treaty Number 14 and Treaty Number 22 treaty lands and the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and the Haudenosaunee. Oakville is currently home to many different First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. Regardless of where we come from, we are all interconnected through the land that we live on, the water that we use, and the air that we breathe. We are committed to a continuous learning journey in allyship. We seek to elevate Indigenous voices and lived experience to cultivate reconciliation in Oakville. Madam Committee Clerk, do we have any regrets today?
We have regrets from Councillor Chisholm and from Rod.
Okay, and I note that Rebecca and Andrew are on Zoom. Good evening.
Good evening.
Making a note here so I remember where they are.
Good evening.
Okay, members of the board, any declarations of pecuniary interest to declare at this time? Not seeing any, not hearing any remotely. We do have our minutes from our previous regular board meeting held June 20th. We have both a regular set of minutes as well as a confidential set of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes as circulated? Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Celso. Any comments, questions, errors, or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor? And those are approved. I see Andrew's hand up. Thank you, Andrew. See how carefully I'm watching that tonight. Actually, I'm going to move that down just a little bit so it's easier to see. There we go. We have a number of consent items on the agenda tonight. We have actually four, which is 5.1, the OPL key board agenda items, 5.2, the health and safety report, 5.3 is employee retention and turnover metrics report, and 5.4 is the occupational health and safety workplace violence policy. That's interesting. That's not normally, the policies aren't normally in consent.
That shouldn't be there. That's my fault.
Okay, so let's say the three are in consent. Does anybody wish to separate any of those three items? F 5.1 through 5.3? Can I get a motion to approve those, please? Thank you, and thank you. Who else gave me motions? I'm sorry. Meredith, give me one. Who's the seconder? Avis, are you seconding? Great, okay. So now everybody's officially in the minutes, so you can all relax, except for Andrew and Rebecca. Okay, exactly. We'll catch them next time, so they get their paychecks. All in favor of the motion to approve the consent items? That's carried, thank you. So moving on to, let's do 5.4 first, since that was supposed to be in discussion. So 5.4. This is the occupational health and safety workplace violence policy.
So we're required to bring this to the board every year. We reviewed it against current provincial legislation as well as the town, and we aren't recommending any changes to this policy at this time.
I'm not seeing any online or in the room, so can I get a motion to receive the report, please? Avis and Bill, all in favor? That's carried. Oh, sorry, you know what? Andrew and Rebecca. Let's change it to Andrew and Rebecca. Then we cover everybody. Because I saw their hands were up. Andrew, did you have a question, or you were just giving me a motion, right?
I was moving it.
Thank you. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, moving on to the real discussion items. Year-to-date financial status indicators, May 2024.
So as you can see in front of you, we are on target as of May 31st. We are seeing some slight overages in administrative services, but that is due to the front-end spending due to conferences. We expect that to even out as we get through the rest of the year. As we discussed a little bit yesterday, we are seeing some continued savings in both customer experience and innovation and integration, and the majority of those outstanding positions should be resolved by the end of the year. So overall, we are targeting well through the rest of the year, and in September we will bring the comprehensive piece to it. I also did want to mention that in June there was a number of requests for changes to this report, and Belinda and I are still working on the best way to address those. So they aren't necessarily in this one, but they will be added in when we figure that out.
Okay. Comments or questions? Not seeing anything. Can I get a motion then to receive the report, please? Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, somebody? Meredith, sorry. And I'm going too fast tonight. And Celso, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to 7.2, future of 16 Mile Creek temporary branch.
So having a conversation about the current 16-mile. Now that we have the new permanent 16-mile under construction, we do have to start thinking about what to do with the existing facility. At this time, we're not bringing a recommendation in front of the board, but just an update about considerations and things and conversations that are happening currently at the town in order to be able to hopefully bring a recommendation to the board in targeting Q1 of 2025. So we have been having conversations with Realty Services about what are potential options. There are a lot of board members who weren't board members when we first introduced the temporary facility, but it was originally designed to address the growing need in the community in Ward 7. At that point in time, the permanent facility was approximately 10 years out. So when the permanent branch was accelerated, it definitely cut the timeline of what it was supposed to be there, but it was also supposed to be a portable branch. So it was expected that at some point we would pick it up and move it to the area of next greatest need in anticipation of a branch that would come at a later date. There are some ongoing challenges because our expectations and our assumptions in 2017 and 2024 are very different. The population and the growth is significantly different related to that. So we're having some really great conversations with Realty Services. They are undergoing a study right now to look at what are the parcels of land throughout the town that the town owns or might be able to acquire, as well as any lands that the town may be able to unacquire, I guess, or sell. To kind of balance that. So we're waiting for that study to really finish to get a better sense of that. Originally, the idea is that it would move from 16 Mile into Palermo. I do have concerns about that because Palermo is in the 10-year forecast. So if we look to move it, say in 2026, it's only going to be there for 5 years. And at that point, we would have moved it. To move it again would be 3 times. And every time we move it, its lifespan is less. So I'd like, part of the consideration is wherever we move it next, we'd like for it to stay. It does have roughly a 30-year lifespan, is what the contractor told us. There is also an express need by Roads and Works and Parks and Open Space to expand the North Ops. So they have asked that once we move out in September, that if we don't have a direct plan to move it, that they use that space while they renovate the fire station next door. And that current location, because again, for those of you, like we had it at 16 Mile Sports Complex, but then when everything was accelerated, it needed to be moved in order to facilitate the building of the park. So we moved it up north. It can't necessarily stay there because that land where it's currently sitting is slated for a building for Roads and Works and Parks and Open Space as part of the expansion, and that is also in the 10-year forecast. So there's a lot of moving pieces that we're working through, but just wanted to flag for the board that we are having those conversations and we are looking to bring potential options, also looking at the master plan and once that is approved and how we might be able to align that.
Okay, questions, comments? Celso?
Maybe I'm missing something, but wouldn't everything that the library owns in that temporary facility move into the permanent facility? It's going to be ready next year.
Correct.
And if that's correct, why is this an issue? Like, why are we considering multiple moves? Once that move is done, that's it.
Well, we need to decide what to do with the building.
It's a temporary building. Yeah.
Like the building itself, we may have to move the building.
And that's our responsibility as well? The building is our responsibility in this context?
Yes.
We own it, yeah.
Yeah.
We own it. Okay, thank you for clarification.
Yeah, but we will be moving the shelving, the collection, the staff will all be moving into the permanent, but it is the physical building that we will have to plan what to do with.
I wonder if the Parks and, Parks and Open Space, whoever wants to borrow it, if they could give us rent in the equivalency of, what is it, 8.5% we need?
I actually asked, it was not well received.
Oh, okay.
So I was reminded that we don't pay rent, so.
Okay. Further comments, questions? Bill? And then Rebecca.
So how many times can it be moved?
I don't necessarily know. That is one of the outstanding questions that,
Yeah.
that facility services has, because every time you do move it, it doesn't go together quite as well.
Right.
And there is the additional cost. It did cost us, I think, in the end, almost $1.2 million to
Yeah.
move it. And that is being on a piece of land that we own that attached into services and into North Ops. So it was minimal land preparation services.
Right.
So that's something that we have to consider if we move it to somewhere else. I know I shouldn't because construction is not mine, but it is something that we are looking at, but I would suspect we don't want to move it more than once, twice at the max.
Yeah, because it would be good to put it somewhere for a few years until we might need it again. I mean,
No,
that
it's
makes
a
sense.
really great space.
Yeah,
I would just like for the next time we move it, especially if it's going to cost us $1 million or so to move it. Plus, we'd have to staff it, put shelving, put collections back in it again as part of that. So
Where it sits right now, it can be there for quite a while, I think, before the next building.
my understanding is 2028. It is now it's in the forecast,
Right.
right? So, but these are conversations that we're having with Phoebe's group to understand. Is that a solid? Is it a not solid? Is there actually interest in them taking over the building, and then what does that look like? So there's multiple different conversations that we're having to bring back as potential options for the board to explore.
one more. So how much did it cost to build that?
Oh, that I do not have off the top of my head.
Was it around 9 million?
That would be, I would think.
Wow. Yeah.
More expensive than we thought. We actually had a budget, and
Yeah.
then the cost of steel
Yes, went up.
jumped dramatically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we had to come back and provide more funding for it. But I think at the end of the day, it was around 9 million bucks.
Yeah, okay.
But well worth it based on what we were able to accomplish
Oh,
in the
absolutely,
community.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have Rebecca online, then I'll come to you. Sorry, I have Rebecca, then Andrew, and then I'll come to you. Rebecca,
Yeah,
you have the
I
floor?
think, yeah, can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Perfect. I think just along with what everyone else was kind of talking about, is it possible to rent out the building to, say, the school board, who's also like severely, lacking in building space, or, another group in the community that needs the space, just, well, we don't need it, but with the hopes of, one day taking it back? Is that something we could explore?
We could definitely explore that option. I mean, the town has already expressed an interest, and I know that there's no financial
Oh,
piece to it, but there is strong relationship building as part of that. I would think that it could be one of the options. If the board decides that there's no space that really do it, and we want to divest ourselves of it, we could look at whether or not the school board, it's a portable. It's just 7 portables in one. And looking at where that might be able to go. I think there's a lot of options to look at. The parking lot up there. Yeah, I guess it depends on the needs, but yeah.
Yeah, probably something a really great project manager might be able to help you with, right,
Yes,
Tara?
you're not
Like
wrong.
to explore.
No, we can't talk about that till next September.
No, I know.
Okay, are you done? Thanks, Rebecca.
Yes,
Next up is
thank
Andrew.
you.
Thank you, Chair Noel. Yeah, Tara, I appreciate the the background and context and sort of. It sounds like there are a lot of question marks still surrounding this. I'm with Bill. I think it's better to use it if we've got it than sort of hem and haw and not put it to any use at all. If we're going to just sit there, leave it sitting there on blocks, as it were, for 5 years, and then try and make a plan after the fact, I think that's doing everyone a disservice. So I appreciate that you're going to be bringing back recommendations to us. If we could sort of see the risks and the benefits of each of the major approaches, I'd appreciate that. And I think it would be great to get it into an underserved area or less served area of the town, or somewhere where we anticipate a lot of growth for my money.
Yep, we can make sure that's included.
Thank you.
Okay, and next up is Meredith.
I was curious about, because I do recall the Palermo being in the plan as well as kind of the next for that really growing subdivision. Is that typical that in that building phase of a permanent structure that you would use a portable library while the larger was being built? Is that part of the plan for Palermo?
The model that 60 Mile had was new for us, and we had explored various different options, leasing spaces, and when we started, it was a partnership between the library and recreation, which is why the 16 Mile hours are what they are. They're not full hours compared to the rest of the branch, because they would do recreation programming in it. That hasn't started back up again post-COVID, but pre-COVID, that was definitely the way. And it was thinking based on the current timelines that we had at that time that, it would stay in 16 Mile 6-7 years, and then Palermo would be the next place as kind of that early phase to that. When we had to move it from its original location up, we did look at, would Palermo be the better choice? And we couldn't find a space in Palermo that worked for us. So some of the timelines would be, even if we decide that Palermo, the majority of north of Dundas does not have services. So one of the spaces that we did look at, for those of you who are familiar for it, there's the Funky Thai restaurant. And behind there's baseball diamonds. So that's town-owned land. But we would have had to bring in water, because where there's power, there's no water. And we decided that you don't want to be doing that with sewage and water, and so that would still be the case. And I don't know, I would have to follow up with planning about the regional timeline to provide services north of Dundas, and whether or not there's even land for us to do that. That is, again, part of the realty piece, is looking at the majority of that land is owned by a developer, and whether or not the town can acquire it. It is in the forecast to purchase land. We just haven't been able to buy land for the permanent branch, and whether this would go in there in advance. There's a lot of questions that we're really hoping to spend the next 6 months or so tracking down answers and providing the board some really great options to look at.
Okay, yeah, it definitely sounds complex. I was just thinking, to your point, is it's not a lot of services in that community, and it does seem like it's growing quite quickly. And just, we know that the plan is 10 years, but generally we've seen construction delays. So does 10 turn into 12, and is this a way to provide services to that community sooner?
And that is the ultimate challenge, is things we didn't anticipate 16 Mile being accelerated. Palermo, I think, currently is in the plan for 2031, but that could be pushed out. It could be brought forward. We are hoping to get a better lay of the land with the new master plan, the realty services plan, and then I think we'll have a better sense also with the region's timelines for north of Dundas and the development of Palermo. I know planning at the town has been doing a lot of work on that as well.
The timelines are going to depend largely on the development timelines. And right now, Argo, who is the largest landowner, we're still working with them in terms of trying to develop a plan for what that's going to look like going forward. And there's a whole Metrolinx piece. So it's a very complex mosaic of issues up there. However, having said that, I will point out to this board that previous boards have been very resolute, I believe, on making sure that Palermo is the next target of opportunity to deal with. You're correct, Meredith. There's not a lot of services. In fact, I'll go one step further. There are no services in that quadrant of Oakville, and it's a bone of contention for people who live up there, because there's a tiny just convenience store on the main floor of one of the apartments. The rest, there's just nothing else up there. So if there was any way we could find a way to fast track, I know land's an issue. Anything north of Dundas is going to be a problem from servicing. The question I always have is there some sort of arrangement that could be made with one of the private landowners that might be banking land south of Dundas, in that old Bronte Road area, the Culsa Gate area? Like, is there something down there? Or even on the other side of Bronte, in that no man's land where there's no services at all, is there something over there that might be temporarily obtainable?
And we did look at those last time, and I think they're worth revisiting. We have made a list of, because there's the Catholic School Board owns a bunch of land there. There's the expansion of Barronwood, and what's the timing for that? So that we just have to update a lot of that information.
Does the Catholic school own that parcel, or is it in the ownership of the developer with a hold on it?
I don't know for sure.
See, that would be worth exploring too, because one of the issues around a lot of these subdivisions, when we approve them, we designate
Yeah.
as part of the plan, as part of the subdivision agreement, there's parcels that are designated for schools. And they don't always take them up. In fact, sometimes they sit unused for so long that the developer turns around and says, hey, I want to develop it, let us out of this deal. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the Catholic School Board's plan is to build a school there. I know that, there's little capital for schools, it seems, these days. So if there is a plan to develop that school, is it long-term? And if so, is that, because that'd be an ideal place for something like this.
Yep. No, I would agree. We'll definitely add that to the list.
Okay. Okay, anything further on this issue? Yes, Celso, go ahead.
If and when we decide to move, would we have to add $1.28 million to our OpEx budget?
Be capital.
Is capital?
I think
the
so.
move is capital?
The move is capital.
Okay.
But we would have to include the operating costs back into operating because we'd have to restaff it.
And we know that's been a challenge in the last 24 hours, in fact. So,
Not really.
no, not in our minds, it's not a challenge, but, okay. The recommended motion here is to receive the report. So can I get a motion for that, please? Thank you, Avis. Thank you, Meredith. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Next up is non-union vacation entitlement.
So what I'm bringing before you today is to bring the library in alignment with not only the town of Oakville, but what we agreed to as part of the collective agreement with our union. So bringing our non-union into alignment in terms of a vacation entitlement. So as you can see, in June 2023, town of Oakville updated the vacation entitlement procedure for non-union staff at the town. In order to really, vacation has become a major issue for employers, and time away from work and just work-life balance. And so part of our conversations with the union is how to do that as well. So we adopted the vacation entitlement from the town for the union, and this is a request to approve the same application to our non-union. There's minimal cost. We only have one staff that's not full-time, so the cost would be less than $1,000 to implement.
Comments or questions? Avis?
So this also is, you just referenced part-time, but it would apply to full-time
All staff,
as well.
yes.
So I mean, there is a monetary impact it's not a cash outflow.
There is, so in the non-union group that this is, we've already approved for the union, which is where 99.9% of all our part-time is.
Right.
And so that was the financial impact that the board approved as part of that collective agreement bargain. And this is to bring our non-union leadership management team into alignment with that. And we only have one part-time staff. You're right that there is a time impact, absolutely. But in terms of a direct impact to our budget, it is relatively minor.
And just a question about policy: is there a use it or lose it kind of vacation policy?
Correct. All vacation has to be taken by within the year it's granted.
Okay, thank you.
Is that the case for part-time and full-time?
Everybody.
And executive as well?
Yes.
Really? Oh,
Yes.
okay.
People can request to carry it over, but it has to be under very specific circumstances.
Okay, and whose discretion is that?
Mine.
Okay. So we know who to suck up to. Oh, no, we don't get vacation. Nobody here gets vacation. Okay, further comments or questions? Celso?
I think there's a small bubble if you're just around that 5-year mark where you have 4 weeks today, and new policy, you're going to go down to 3 for another year before you earn that 4th week again. So I think we just need to adjust for that.
My understanding.
So it says more than 5 years, the current one, right? More than
Yep.
5 years, but less than 15, you're at 4. But in the new proposed, you drop down to 3,
Yes.
up to 6 years. So there's a small bubble there.
There is, yeah.
Even people getting up to that 5th years are probably looking forward to that extra week,
Yeah.
and they're gonna have to wait 2 years now.
Yes.
Okay. Anything further? Can I get a motion to approve the recommendation, please? Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Celso. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, we move on to 7.4, the political use of space and resources policy.
Sorry, Chair, point of
Oh, I'm
order.
sorry. Did you have a question, Andrew?
Potentially, it's a point of order, I believe. I just
Okay.
want to understand the motion that was just passed.
Yep.
Did that actually make an amendment to the vacation entitlement chart that was presented or not?
I believe it did, because the motion was that the non-union vacation entitlement report be received and that updates to the non-union vacation entitlement be approved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, 7.4, political use of space resources policy. This is this is being circulated for feedback.
It is, yes, and it is the update to the policy is a direct result of the town updating their policy. They updated in two different places, but only one applies to OPL, and that is around the use by political candidates to use OPL videos that have been posted to YouTube. Previously, that wasn't allowed, but the town's updated to let that based on the terms of reference of YouTube itself. So we just updated ours in order to match theirs.
And that's why I'll be bringing a wardrobe and makeup person to all future board meetings so that I've got some really good B-roll for my commercials in the next election. Okay, so that's been received. This is for receipt for information per our standard policy. Does anybody have any feedback on this policy? Celso.
Yeah, at this day and age where videos can be altered very easily, right? And, very believably. I think as a suggestion, you may want to add a statement here that says that, yes, they can be used, videos on YouTube can be used as long as they're not altered in any way.
Yep. We can look at that, yep.
Yeah, maybe legal implications on that, but sure, that's a good call. Avis, I see your hand up, or that was Bill, sorry, Bill.
I'm not really sure what kind of a video this would be, so maybe somebody could enlighten me. I'm not sure who would use a OPL video.
So if, just say we were hosting an event, the opening of 16 Mile, for example, and we made a video of it and posted it up on YouTube, Jeff would be able to use it as part of his re-election campaign.
You're putting me in a conflict when you say that, so.
Sorry. I shouldn't have used.
Nav Nanda would be
Nav
able to
Nanda,
use it.
or any of the counselors who were present, could then use that video as part of their campaign.
It's more of a clarification policy, because in the last election, video is so prevalent now that you found there were candidates that were using videos, in their commercials and their social media and such. And so that led to the question, okay, if those videos are produced with town-owned equipment by town staff, et cetera, does that become a town asset? And there's a specific abolition on use of town resources for election or re-election purposes. And then there's this whole debate around, well, but if it's a video of you, then that's really kind of, you have kind of like an implied copyright. So there was a whole debate around that. So this is where the towns just come basically alongside where most other municipalities are on this issue.
All right, thanks.
Meredith?
So just looking for some clarification on the wording of on 2B, because it says registered candidates may not use videos produced by the town, but they may use Oakville Public Library videos. So I'm curious why, like, town is not, but there's a special treatment for Oakville Public Library.
Where is that?
Like the highlighted portion of 2B, it seems like it's
Oh, that seems like a remnant of a previous.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's a good catch. Thank you. It really should override that section.
Good catch.
Except like supersede. Yeah, I'll fix that. Sorry.
It's clearly a remnant from what was there
Yeah.
before, yeah.
Yeah.
Any more feedback? Okay, Meredith gets the prize for best feedback. Okay. Nothing further? Nothing virtually? Not seeing anything? Can I get a motion to receive this for information? It's receipt for information, right? Yes. Or receipt for feedback. So I can motion for receipt for feedback. Thank you, Avis. Thank you, Rebecca. All in favor? That's carried. Oh, and, okay, Andrew's voting. I gotta get used to, it's only been a few years, 4, since Zoom became so prevalent. I'm still not used to it. Okay, moving along to 7.5, which is our media relations policy. This is another policy presented to us for feedback.
And this is just another update. The core hasn't really changed. There's just been like extremely minor updates, punctuation, that have been updated to the policy.
Questions, comments? Okay, motion to receive for feedback. Celso and Meredith, thank you. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, 7.6, another policy, electronic monitoring policy. Ooh, this is appropriate based on the conversation last night.
Yes, this will definitely have to be one of the policies, depending on how that outcomes that we'd have to look
Yep,
at.
yep.
But the policy that we brought in front of you really has two updates to it. One is the inclusion of the references to the many town policies and procedures that align with that. They have oversight of our IT, our facilities, so just making sure that staff are aware that those procedures and policies do align with us and they do fall under those pieces, as well as with the introduction of the courier van, making sure that that's added in here as well.
Comments, questions? Celso?
Yeah, I recognize that internet usage is already there, but as a suggestion and from experience, you may want to consider adding web browsing history
Okay.
and downloads.
Okay. We can add those in.
Okay, great. Not seeing anything else, nothing online. Can I get a motion to receive? Thank you, Celso. Thank you, Meredith. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, CU update.
Okay. So just some project updates. No real update for 16 Mile construction project. It still continues to go. The Parks, Recreation, and Library Master Plan. We talked briefly about the survey results yesterday, but we did receive majority positive feedback for the proposed recommendations as part of that validation survey. But we did receive over 18 pages of write-in feedback that's currently being reviewed. But just to provide some overall information, these were the questions that were asked. So you could see where we kind of land with that. I develop a future operating hours plan to consider extending hours at select location. Received 67% agree with that. Continue to expand technologies, received 78%. So we are taking a look at these and using them to kind of let us know where we should be directing some of our efforts, and it will, of course, continue to inform the master plan. I can send this out afterwards.
There's some surprising
Yep.
results in here. Yeah, please send that out. I think that'd be useful for all of us to have access to.
Yeah, I'll send it out along with the demographics of the responses.
Ah, yes, that would be a good juxtaposition.
But they did, Monteith Brown did provide us with a summary of the top 10 themes. Clearview was definitely a major theme. There was at least, I would say, 60 to 70 write-ins saying expand or retain Clearview. And then next being enhancing and expanding library programming, extending our hours, more physical books, improved and free parking for Central Library, so something to consider as part of New Central, as part of that process. Improve ebooks, develop a new branch in Bronte and QEP. That one all continues to come up as well, particularly related to the master plan. So as I mentioned, we are digging through some of that and for what we can take away as an executive team at the library and tweak our existing services, but it's also being reviewed as part of Monteith Brown in order to update the recommendations that'll be brought forward to council in the fall. So New Central, we held our kickoff meeting on July 10th, and then yesterday we met with them to go over the community engagement.
Sorry, Bill, I apologize. Bill had a question on
Yep,
that last
sorry.
slide.
1,385 responses, is that good?
It's not bad.
Yeah.
We got 2,000 for our strategic plan, and that was very, very good.
Yeah.
So they were pleased with 1,300.
Wow. It's pretty incredible in a town this size, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it's a surprisingly large number, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, you compare that to a lot of the other surveys that we do as a town, and you sometimes just get a handful.
Right.
So clearly people are really interested in the library because that is, from my experience, that's a considerable response.
It was, everybody was quite surprised by it.
Yeah. But it wouldn't take much to get a whole bunch of people together and, you know, if there's a certain cause that they're looking for, they could,
Well, based on this, I suspect that
yes.
there was in
Yeah.
a couple cases, yeah.
I only pulled out the library piece, but recreation and park, you definitely saw more themed responses from community
Yeah,
groups,
I can
as you would
imagine.
imagine.
Okay.
Sorry. Like the top one.
So yesterday we did talk with Perkins and Will about a community engagement program. So we went through different options with them. We've created a list, a community engagement list, and then ranked everybody on it, level of 1, 2, and 3, about the different engagement level. 1, being, of course, the board, council, those people they're going to want to actually individually talk to or talk to as a small group. Identifying 2, those community groups that we work with really, really closely that may come in for like a stakeholders meeting, and then people that we may want to do a survey and send that out in order to receive information. So they are working on creating a timeline for that, and once I have that, we'll be informing the board as part of that. And then I think next Wednesday they were coming in to Current Central to do a review of how it's currently used, and so we're excited to give them a tour of our current space.
I'm sure you may have said this, but when does the board get a kick at the cat here?
So we haven't, they're actually starting to put together a timeline. The board and council are definitely the first ones we're going to start with. We're really looking to kick off the public consultation in September, but there might be an opportunity to start meeting with council in August. We will have to look at, I would probably recommend what we're looking at now is hosting something similar to we did with the master plan, is a special meeting that's dedicated to that. They can come, they can ask questions. It's more of a conversation between you and the architects than have them come to it, like be part of a regular meeting. So we have asked them to map that out as part of that piece. I think Rebecca had her hand up. Did Rebecca have her hand up? No? Sorry.
Yeah, and this is like a
sorry.
really simple question, and I don't know if we've already talked about this, but will the name of this new branch be called New Central?
We just use it,
Do you
New
know?
Central, as a differentiator from Current Central.
Yeah.
That will actually have to be a conversation that the board will have to have. Is it going to be central?
Okay.
Are we going to call it something else? Yeah, but none of
Thank
that
you.
has been decided. I'm just calling it New Central as a differentiator.
Yeah.
16 Mile killed us too. 16 Mile, 16 Mile.
There might be precedent for that. I might be wrong on my history, but I believe that there was, in Oakville, there was Central School, and then there was New Central School.
There was the Central School, yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it would be an interesting
Oh.
it would be an interesting tradition to uphold.
Yeah. Our current, our 2023 report to the community is out, so absolutely take a look at that. We're really excited about the things that we accomplished in 2023. Joe and his team did a great job with pushing that out. We have been making significant updates to the website. We continue to learn as we go, take feedback as it comes in, looking to streamline. So we've adjusted where the search bar was to make it easier to find. For those of you who've been on our website, when there's alerts, we've consolidated them so they don't take up half of the page as soon as you log in. The elevator's down, this is up. So now they're kind of sectioned off. We try to make it easier to access below those key groupings and make it more visibly that there is items underneath that to choose from, and then really look to consolidate the header. We also look to add more links, again, trying to get people to where they want to go with the fewer amount of clicks. We've also added additional curated reading lists to the homepage. And then we are working on updating the federated search to make it more browse friendly. Right now, for those of you who've been on it, it's divided into 4 different quadrants, but depending on your screen, you may not even know that the other 2 are there. So how do we show you that if you're doing a search that there's 4 different buckets that you can actually look into for that, which are browsing our collections, browsing our programs, community resources, as well as just a straight website search. So we update our story walks regularly, I think 4 times a year, quarterly. So the summer story walks are currently up. So we have them at Bronte Heritage Waterfront Park, Tannery Waterworks Park, and George Savage Park. So if you're out looking for something to do with your families, take a look at some of these really fun books.
Is there a way to expand this?
Yeah, we can look at that. I mean, this was funded from a grant, so we would have to look at. I have asked Joe to put together a bit of a financial model if we wanted to add in another one, what that cost would be. Having to talk with Parks, because Parks significantly supports this for us in that they change everything over and they manage the actual park piece. But it is, from what we can gather, quite successful.
Do you know what the general cost is to set one of these up?
Do you know what the grant was?
Yeah, so the ones in the current parks, they're not, it's new seed. I'm getting used to it. It's cool.
And we can hear you. I didn't know what your voice was like before.
No, so it's a little different in Tannery and Bronte because they're actually attached to light posts. So we don't have to do any digging or any kind of base installation or any of those pieces. To do another park, you're probably looking at around, I would say, $15,000 to $20,000 to set this up. But then it's also the reoccurring costs to update and continuing to maintain these, which we're trying to source out. But a lot of that work is done by Parks right now. So.
Yeah, so we're sorting out what are the capital costs, I guess we can call it the startup costs, and then the operational costs.
I would love it if you'd look at Memorial Park in Ward 5.
In Ward 5?
It's a very large central, I guess not central, north. Well, I guess we kind of are central now when you consider the band.
Now you are, yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
an extraordinarily busy park. It has a path system.
Is that where the memorial is?
Yeah,
Okay.
Memorial
Okay.
Memorial
Yeah.
has a
Right.
separate piece.
Okay.
And then there's a road, and then there's an active playground.
Yep.
There's washrooms. There is a wonderful walking path, concrete. Now it's all lit walking path. There's a basketball court. There's a community garden. There's an active living exercise center.
Oh, okay.
There's checker tables. Pardon me. There's a two bin dog park.
Oh.
A beautiful bridge, and of course the two water stormwater management ponds, which are lovely naturalized wetlands. So it's a wonderful park that's just screaming for something like this because there's like the place is just teeming with children, and it would be wonderful to add this feature to that park.
No, we'll look at that.
Maybe the counselors could help with from our budgets potentially a little bit as well. We don't get big budgets, but I'd be willing to put some money into it if that were the case.
Yeah, we'll look at different options. So Summer Reading Club is off to a big start. Joe, we have a lot more than 653 participants. Did you miss a number?
So that is just the participants who attended the
the
kickoff
parties.
parties. Yes.
Okay, we have over 3,000 registrations. I was like, I don't think that number is right. All right, so we had over 650 people attend our kickoff parties. The theme this year is Out of This World, and if you're following our Instagram, people are loving signing the stars and putting them up in the branches. The stars are everywhere. They're covering all the walls, all the windows out there. Central had the largest turnout, which is great. That isn't always the case. And then as of earlier in the week, we were over 3,000 registrations for the program, which we're excited about. Our OPL ambassadors have been busy being out at the parks and engaging with people. They've been out at the Super Playgrounds in partnership with the town of Oakville. They've been at Movies in the Park, the Oakville Parent-Child Center, Bronte Heritage Park, the Glenorchy Festival, the Bronte's Farmers Market. So as part of our effort to try and get beyond our borders, they've been a great resource for us to get out there and have conversations with people about what the library offers.
Can I ask you on that? Do you keep any kind of metrics on the number of people that visit the table and any kind of idea of what they're interested in?
For the ambassadors, they do keep track. So that's the engaged piece in that last bullet. So they engaged with over 2,700 people. Okay. I don't know if we necessarily do it when we go to like Asian Heritage Festival. One of the things that we have been looking at is streamlining our outreach. As we kind of had a brief conversation about yesterday, the branches do some, programming does some, HIP does some, and so we're trying to bring consistency to how that's actually managed as part of that. So that is one of those ongoing things that we're looking at. And we have some really fun story times coming up. The fire safety story times, which has been going on this week, has been massively successful. There's a really cute picture of the fire truck and everybody out in the rain earlier in the week because the kids really want to see the fire truck out there. It's fire safety staff in doing story times, trying to teach kids about fire safety. We have creative cricket programming for adults that we continue to offer, as well as our summer programming. And then to end, we did participate in Halton's second annual Pride Parade on Sunday. We did get a little wet, but it was a really great turnout. And given the weather, I was super impressed with how many people were on the street as we walked by. And thank you to Avis and Celso for joining us for that day.
So all 4 libraries participated in that together.
Correct.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And then just some final shots of different activities that are happening throughout the library. So the first one there, Come With Us Fire Safety, that's the fire safety team. And then the one on the other side, that was us at Pride Fest in Burlington. That was held in June.
Great. Any additional questions or comments? I'm not seeing any, and nothing online. Can I get a motion to receive the update? Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Meredith. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, members of the board, our next matter of business is our confidential discussion items. There is nothing, there's nothing after that. So I'm going to ask now, while we have an audience, potentially mostly of staff members, but maybe some public too, is there any new business to come before the board tonight? Okay, I have one matter of new business, and that is I just wanted to draw everybody's attention to, if you're not already aware of it, and that because it's museums and science centers and things like that all sort of are very closely related to libraries and culture. I just want to draw everybody's attention. You're probably aware of the ongoing controversy around the closure of the Ontario Science Centre. I've been very involved in campaigning to reverse that decision, and I have been promoting the organization Save Oakville, Ontario Science Centre, not Oakville Science Centre, Ontario Science Centre. Those old words always default to Oakville. We could move it here. And I would just draw your attention to their website and their social media at Save the Science Centre. I should know this. There's a petition, savesciencecentre.com, and they're also on Facebook, Twitter, and I guess X now, and Instagram. So if you believe in this wonderful, marvelous institution that anybody that grew up in Ontario, and I assume most of us did, probably spent a good part of our childhoods in. You know, those of us that have grandkids or may have grandkids in the future, we want to take our grandkids to in the future, sign the petition, get involved, get active, and remind the province that this is, in fact, our property and not theirs to do what they choose to do, especially with the controversy around, is it really as bad as they say it is? So I would encourage everybody watching in the room to check out the website, be aware of the issue, and vote with your email. Let the province know that you're not, if you're on side with this, that you're not accepting of it. So hope that wasn't too overly political, but it's I think it's an important issue. Okay, members of the board, we have to go in camera, so I'm going to look for a motion to go in camera for the following purposes. We are going into a session closed to the public for the purposes of a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and or litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. Can I get a motion to that effect, please? Thank you, Avis, and thank you, Meredith. All in favor? That's carried. Rebecca, are you folks voting or? Okay, good. So we're going to take a moment. I'm going to, we'll recess till, let's recess to 8. Oh, let's recess to 8, and then we'll get right back into it because we do need to close the room down and make sure that we are in a closed session. To members of the public, this pretty much concludes our meeting, although we will come out of the meeting at the end to say goodnight. But if you're wanting to sign off now, thank you for tuning in to the coverage of the Oakville Public Library Board meeting. We do appreciate your interest. And at any time, if you ever have questions about our board, never hesitate to reach out to myself as chair at jeff.knoll@oakville.ca. I'm happy to take your feedback. And as always, we appreciate your interest. So with that, this meeting is adjourned until 8 o'clock, or sorry, recessed till 8 o'clock.
Recording in progress.
Equity for remote board members. There we go. We are live. So I report that we have met in a session closed to the public for the purposes of a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, in this case, local board, or litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. I will report that we did pass a resolution with respect to 8.1, and I'm looking for a motion to receive 8.2. I understand that Bill and Andrew are going to move in second the receipt of 8.2. Can I get a motion to, can I get a vote on that, please? All in favor? That is carried. Okay, we have concluded our business for the day. I will announce that our next board meeting is on Thursday, this September 19th, so please have a relaxing August and get ready for a boisterous fall as we deal with all things budget. I'll just ask one last time for any new business, if anything came to mind before, since we came back and since we left public session.
Mr. Chair, a quick question.
Sure.
Sorry, Terry, could you remind us when the staff development day is planned for, please?
Staff Development Day is September 20th, and that's a good reminder. I will send that out to the board. You are invited.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Where is it being held this year?
It's back at QEP.
Okay. Okay, members of the board, that concludes our business for today. I'll look for a motion to adjourn then. Nobody wants to adjourn. Oh, there we go. We have Rebecca. Meredith is moving to adjourn, seconded by Rebecca. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned. We'll see you in September.